Okay, we're back. Frequent. Keeping up a good schedule, aren't we, Kaz?
Ryan.
Living the dream. Well, here we are, sitting, fishing, here at the Gate of the Queen, outside the entrance of the raid. Ready to talk about some 8.2 stuff. The question at hand that I think everybody wants to know the answer to is 8.2 the savior of Azeroth, the battle for Azeroth? That's sort of dramatic, but it seems like every YouTuber, every streamer, everybody talking who's playing the game is like 8.2 better be the thing that fixes WoW, but we're just going to talk about 8.2 and kind of see where we land.
Yeah, we are pre-raid as of this recording. If you watch it on YouTube or something like that, raid comes out tomorrow. So we've had a chance to see some of the story. We've had a chance to dive into Najatar and Mechagon. Some of us have flying, some of us don't. But we're at the point where we can start making actual judgments about the patch and things of that nature.
Absolutely. Want to get in before we get the raid open and everything. We'll talk about that separately. I want to give a shout out here to this three-eyed fish, the bottom left corner of my screen. It might be swimming behind my Chewy image, but it is gross looking. So there you go. Well, let's dive in. Anything else we got to say, or we just jump?
Nah, I mean, 8.2 is here. We are in Najatar. Let's go.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a good place to start for us. We've got two new zones, which I would say are the meat of the patch. Pretty good sizable zones, but here
Yeah,
we are in the first of the two.
there's certainly the nexus of new content. Like
Yes,
most of the things are being filtered through either Najatar or Mechagon.
absolutely. Um, and so Najatar, since we're here, it's a good enough place to start. Let's start with just like pluses, minuses. What do you think? What do you think of Najatar?
Najatar looks really cool. It does have a fair bit of recycled art assets, which I don't necessarily mind because it's supposed to be elfish or whatever, but it's been like adapted with coral and things of that nature. So like, it makes sense in that context. But like, it's a pretty zone. It's a bitch to get around until you get flying, and then once you have flying, it becomes much more manageable.
Yeah, yeah. So just so everyone knows, I don't have flying. Kaz does, and he's not wrong. If you're playing this patch, you understand. I can't tell if the mob density is worse or better than Argus, because Argus felt like a disaster to me every time
I
I
mean,
tried to
the
go
mob
anywhere.
density is very high, and with the amount of elevation change, it's like you find yourself like having to just run through Naga camps to try to get anywhere. And then with the number of rares that they've put in this particular zone, nothing is ever where you are. So like not being able to fly to it, like it becomes a real hassle trying to pick up all the stuff you're trying to get to.
Yeah, because it is a very vertical zone. I've been sort of surprised by that. You know, you can jump off from New Home, the, hub space, and I can, essentially levitate my way most way across the map because it kind of dips down into this, valley over here by the Gate of the Queen. But I was surprised at how kind of vertical it was.
Now,
Um,
this is going to sound petty, but one of my complaints about the zone is the fact that the south is the high ground. So, like in my brain, whenever I'm going to the south part of the map, I'm going up, so it feels like I'm going north, and it's like this weird psychological thing. But the way the zone is designed, the most furthest north points in the map are the lowest elevation wise, which is where we're effectively at with the entrance to the raid. But like it
yeah.
like I don't know how many times something spawned or something, and I'm in a group and we're trying to talk to people, and we're like, "Hey, like such and such is up. Let's go there. It's on the north. I mean, the south side of the map." Like trying to like navigate people. Like it's something about it just like mentally messes with me.
Well, no, we'll have to let the level designers know to always put up elevation on the north side for you.
Yeah, man, it's that trend thing from Lord of the Rings or something. Something about going south feels like you're going downhill, but like not here.
Yeah.
You're going north.
You're definitely going uphill too. What is my least favorite part of the zone is definitely the area where you collect seaweed.
Once you have
For
flying,
sure.
that quest becomes super trivial.
Yeah, that's kind of what I imagine it would be. before we get into kind of the mechanics and the new systems at play here, going back to kind of the art assets and things, there are some reused art assets for sure. I do like some of the kind of changes and adjustments they've made to some of the Naga and the sea creatures, but there's a few like buildings I think are really cool. Like, you know, when you run into those buildings where there's either a rare or the arcane box that you have to unlock, and you either play one of the arcane games.
Yeah, a little DDR or some Candy
Yeah, yeah,
Crush.
yeah. Yeah, I freaking love it. It's my favorite. Nevertheless, but those buildings, as I was running into it, I realized they're kind of like, there's that hunting lodge in Red Ridge. There's like Moonglade. There is, at the foot of the World Tree, those kind of night elf structures that you walk in, and it's kind of has three wings a little bit, left, right, and
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's intentional, but it definitely feels like a bit of a callback to like those buildings that
I
have been
mean,
around in
like
the
again,
game since classic.
like I said, there's reused art assets and stuff, but at the same point, like night elves, high elves, dark elves, whatever like elf you feel like throwing in there, they're all theoretically from a similar origin, and like Nazjatar or whatever was once the Well of Eternity, right? So like,
Right,
it makes sense that the architecture would be similar, if not identical, in a lot of respects, but.
right,
So seeing like stuff like you're talking about, like Darnassus and stuff, like they're still elves, so that like three wing kind of building or whatever is not foreign
right,
to any of the
right.
denizens. Like even though now they're Naga because of their deals and packs and stuff, but at the end of the day, like it makes sense. It's just you gotta wonder sometimes when they reuse a ton of art assets and stuff like that. Are they working on something bigger behind the scenes, like art
Yeah,
wise, or is it just convenient because these zones are reasonably sized? I'd say
yeah.
for a patch, but I don't know.
Right. This one feels probably, I mean, combined, they maybe feel about as big as Argus, like the three zones of Argus,
It's hard
and
to say because Argus felt a lot bigger than it was because you
because
couldn't
had
fly and it was
three distinct
designed to be
zones as
annoying.
well. Yeah, yeah.
As
Two
where this
huge.
one, they knew you were gonna fly, so like it feels really big when you've got when you're on the ground, but once you're able to fly, like it's still at least Nazjatar feels like a sizable zone. Mechagon's not huge, but
Right, right. It's interesting that you mentioned like, are they working on something bigger behind the scenes? Because as we know, there's definitely I think 8.2 came a little later than we expected, even though Ian last BlizzCon was sort of uh, alluding to the fact that they are going to take longer on things to make sure it's done right, and that sounded a bit like an apology after BFA launched and was, not the most polished product at launch, and the systems were a little bit lacking in testing, and so. But I am surprised at how late it launched. Uh,
I will say
and
I'm
I
glad they
wonder
took
if
their
it's
time
justified.
because if
Oh
they
yeah,
had rushed it, there are a handful of bugs. It hasn't been too bad, but with the amount of new systems and things that they've tried to adapt and bring into the game and
mm,
stuff, like if it had been pushed quickly and there was a lot of bugs, like um, I think it would have been very, very bad because, like you said, a lot of people are looking to 8.2 to quote unquote save the game. Because a lot of people think that the game is in a really bad place and they were expecting 8.2 to kind of be the stopgap, if you will, or whatever, that kind of stops the bleeding and gets us going again.
yeah,
Um, and bugs obviously detract from that
yeah,
ultimate goal. So
yeah,
taking your time is important as long as it's not too bad. I mean, like if you look at Legion or whatever, it's the longest content drought we've had since WoD. It wasn't anywhere near a WoD
no,
style
no,
drought, but like it was time off. A lot of people
yeah,
in our guild did other things, but I don't. I think it was acceptable. I think if it had gone too much longer, it would have been a problem.
right. I think so too. Um, but I'm glad it's here. It's been cool to see all the guild log back in. We've been kind of all been playing at the
Yeah,
same
yeah, yeah.
time
I
and
mean, like
grouping up for stuff. It's been cool.
a lot more people on the server and stuff than has been, which is great.
Absolutely. All right, so the systems here at work in Jatar, we have a whole slew. Well, this is what's interesting is kind of we've returned. We've got a mix of the new world quest system with just your quests up on the map, go run, do them. They auto complete as soon as you finish it with uh, dailies that are assigned to your followers here. Um, which is interesting as well because you have a fat stack of daily quests that you go and turn in again. So I find it interesting that they have the mix of things. I wonder why they did that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and like I will admit it. There's something good about the feeling of like looking at your map after you've done everything and you see a bunch of like completed question marks or whatever all in the hub. It's like, oh, I get to go back and turn everything in. Like that feels
Yeah.
rewarding as opposed to everything like with a
Yep.
world quest just like completing real
You're
time and you
done.
never see
Boom.
it. Like
Ding. Yeah.
it's kind of cool to go and talk to the people, turn in the stuff or whatever. Um, I don't know if that's why they just kind of brought that back. It is kind of strange that you have your followers give you missions, then there's just straight up missions in New Home, plus there's still world quests that exist in the zone. So it's
Right.
kind of like a mix of the old and the new, and I don't know if it's a slow transition back to the way things were. Like
Yeah.
if they're like trying to step away from World Quest, or if it's just simply like, hey, we haven't done dailies in a really long time, so let's
Hmm.
implement it. And it's not just this zone; you see that in Mechagon too. There's only
Yes.
two World Quests in Mechagon, Pet Battle, and then whatever the big overarching one is, and then everything else is considered a daily.
Right. Which is very interesting because, I mean, this gets into some game design stuff that we could talk about another time, but it's interesting that a small, like, it's essentially the same thing. You show up, you do something, you've probably done it before, once or twice or three or four times, and then you get a reward for it. But just the idea of picking it up and turning it in has, I do admit, it is kind of rewarding. You show
Yeah,
up and
it's a
you're like, look at
psychological
this.
thing, but it feels like
Yeah.
you know that you're completing it and you're opting to turn it in as opposed to everything happening behind the curtains.
Exactly. And you kind of can feel like I like the way that a lot of the quests overlap in the spaces where you're collecting items for requisitions at the same time in that area. You can get a bunch of crabs killed and you need some other things. I kind of enjoy that where you get to plan your route. Like, how can I do this efficiently? And I've been thinking about that a lot because obviously the patch launched and then I was unavailable for like a week and a half almost, and so now I'm playing catch up to fly and to get caught up with everything, and so I'm constantly thinking about how to do it quickly. Um, I've died definitely, which I appreciate. I like dying to stuff.
Yeah, stuff certainly. I mean, I wouldn't say that anything's necessarily hard, but things are definitely scaled up from what they were. Like your
Oh
rare
yeah,
mobs, instead of having 600,000 health, have like 4 million. I can still solo them, but it requires a little bit more
sure.
forethought.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I got to be careful about how I'm using my cooldowns and what I'm doing, which I like. Um, what are I guess related to this area, something we could get into is um, I think they put more of their kind of catch-up mechanics here. We see, you know, benthic gear, which sort of feels a bit like we've had tokens, catch-up tokens since what, Miss of Pandaria probably, with gear dropping randomly that you can just roll off. In this case, you can actually upgrade it, which I think is kind of neat, kind of nice. But what do you think of the benthic armor system?
So I have mixed feelings on benthic gear because benthic gear is interesting in that it provides a catch up. So the 385 base or whatever is not very impressive, but it is a good way to catch up alts. That's fine. The fact you can
Right.
upgrade it to 425 or 430 or whatever it is a little bit concerning because that's heroic level gear for the current raid that you can have without ever setting foot in the raid.
Hmm.
It's interesting to me that a lot of, or I think effectively every piece has an equipped bonus of some kind that only works in Najatar or in the raid.
Hmm.
So it's kind of cool because there's some pieces that you can equip, like there's the back piece or whatever that allows you to bargain with the Murloc. There's some pieces that have like fish randomly drop from mobs. There's some pieces that are damage buffs, like the boots or whatever that I had to spend billions of pearls on to get. They give me a bonus to my crit damage.
Yep.
But it's kind of this weird thing because like in my brain, like I'm a classic player through and through. I like the old way more than I like the new game in a lot of respects. And so like when you have this gear that is designed to give you benefits in the raid, it kind of feels like getting yourself like your nature resist or your fire resist gear, getting ready to go into the raid, which I like.
Yeah.
But I don't like that it scales beyond the actual raid gear. Like right now, for destruction warlocks, I think it's only a 420 item level if you don't even upgrade it all the way. 420 without a socket of the benthic, a specific pair of benthic boots, sims higher than the best 355 with a socket piece of loot in terms of boots or whatever that drops from the raid. So
Oh wow.
like the benthic gear is just insanely better than the stuff that you're getting the benthic gear to run, and that doesn't feel right to me. I feel like the benthic gear should be a stepping stone, maybe even borderline mandatory in some like regards for high end stuff to get in there. But if you get the corresponding raid piece, it should absolutely replace the benthic gear, and it's not doing that, and I don't like that.
I wonder if that has to do with, I mean, obviously there's like, we're balancing an insane amount of specs, and how they all work with secondary stats, because like, for Shadow Priest at least, it's like, 4 of my slots, would be great with benthic gear if you roll the specific ability and a socket. If you don't roll both of them, it's not worth it. So that's kind of interesting because that is one a huge mana pearl sink as far as gambling for it.
Yeah, I've
But so
spent hundreds of mana pearls the last couple of days between my alts, just sending gear
yeah,
to this main, trying to get the specific pieces. I've got the socketed boots. I've been trying to get the bracers, and then I want to try to get the waist piece for the aberration ones, the fights or whatever. Like those are the three
yeah,
pieces of gear that we're supposed to have as warlocks.
yeah. I'm supposed to have the crit boots, which I didn't end up getting, but I got a socket. I mean, it's got aberrations, but it has crit haste, so I've just stuck with it because it's still gonna be better than my pants, and I'll roll on something else while I work on that. But
Yeah, I haven't spent any pearls upgrading the gear yet because I wouldn't be surprised if it gets nerfed. But if it
right,
doesn't, then I'm trying to stockpile so I can at least push a
yeah.
couple of pieces. So I
Here's what
think
I
I've got
like
enough to
about
upgrade all three to 420. I wouldn't have enough to get them all to 425.
yeah. Well, it's a lot of it's a lot of mana pearls, which
420 to 425 is 100, but I think all the way to 420 is only like 150.
yeah. So it's not too bad to get yourself caught up. However, I like that it's somewhat targetable. You know, I can fill a slot, which I like, and I can upgrade it, which I like as well. I kind of miss that Valor point system where you could actually, you know, work on upgrading some of the gear that you had, which felt good to me.
Yeah, I mean, it
Um,
keeps grinding rares and stuff relevant because you're always looking for pearls, which gives you an opportunity to either roll for a piece of gear or upgrade something, which is nice.
Yeah, which I like that it feels like, yeah, we're actually going towards something. Again, it is still a kind of progression system existing or surrounding your power level, you know. But I think it's a nice way to catch up because I know I have a couple of alts that would like to catch up eventually. So, um, anything else on that benthic armor system?
I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see how it actually ends up playing out in raid. Because like, if it becomes best in slot for a lot of stuff, then I would say that it's a failure in its design because I think the raid gear should be the top for the raid. But
I
I
just,
don't mind the attempt, and I think a lot of the abilities are really interesting. Like I like that they're trying it. I think they just made it too powerful, or they made the
yeah,
raid gear too weak, which might
yeah.
be the case.
So there might be some tweaking. Maybe tomorrow there'll be some hot fixes.
And I mean, I
You
guess
never
for
know.
what it's worth, Benthic gear is great exclusively for the raid. You're not going to take it into Mythic Pluses because none of the bonuses on it work unless it just happens to be statted well. So, like in that
Right.
case, the raid gear is better
Like
for Mythic Plus or something like
yeah,
that. But um,
my
I
boots will be
still,
good for Mythic Plus because it just has the best stats on it. So,
yeah, and I mean, I guess that's okay because there's so much
oh,
loot in the game. Why not
yeah,
have another source to just like have infinite
I know.
amounts of freaking loot?
That's what it feels like. I'm just filling it in wherever. But um, yeah, all in all, I'd say, you know, as I'm running around Nazjatar, it's been 2 weeks. Um, I'm getting to know the zone better, and I like the zone. I certainly like it a lot better than the Broken Shore.
Yeah,
That
I'd say
was,
that.
I think it's working better there. I'm enjoying the kind of mix of activities and things to do. I like kind of the secrets and the way to activate rares. Um, that it's not just things are up, run and go kill them, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
what do you feel about the density of rares? Because rares are such a weird thing for me because the term rare means that it shouldn't be around a lot, but these guys spawn all the freaking time. So like I like the secrets, like the trees trying to figure out how to spawn them is cool.
yeah.
I like some of the procs or whatever, like Pack Mother procking Pack Father is interesting. Um,
Hmm.
but like it still feels like there's too many rares that have too many things. And I guess maybe that's the attempt to have lots of continued gameplay, like long term. But I mean, I
Mm,
can say I've already killed every single rare in both zones. Like it took a lot of grinding, but I'm effectively done unless I'm looking for mana pearls or pets.
mm. You know, I I like I like having rares to kill. At the same time, I mean, I kind of I feel like there's a variance uh in the rares that I think works for me for this. I think there are a lot of rares, but there are some rares I have never seen. I haven't been grinding it, you know. I will eventually for the achievements and for mana pearls and stuff like that. But I like that there are some rares that I haven't seen because I don't know how to or I haven't been in the right place at the right time. But then there's other rares that you see like all the time, you know.
I guess it
Um,
raises the question of who they're catering to again, because like I don't think that I'm by any means considered the normal player. So like you having less time, you're probably more indicative of like the general populace of players having like
I
an actual
guess.
life or whatever, and so like not seeing all the rares is probably more the norm than like a
Yeah,
few of us that have seen everything multiple times. But
yeah, and taking care of them all. I wonder how many. I kind of wonder where the player base lands on that if they like it. I mean, so one thing that we sort of pointed out before we got in this in our show notes is like Blizzard themselves have sort of related this patch, especially Mechagon, and I would say even some of Nash Jitar, um, to the Timeless Isle kind of
it's
system.
weird to me that they use Mechagon as their comparison, because I feel like the thing that's the closest to the Timeless Isle is the Benthic gear, and that exists in Agitar, not Mechagon.
Yeah, I think the things they're wondering about is because there was all that like rare hunting and extra, you know, little things going on and platforming challenges and stuff. I think between the two of them, I think they share a lot. Um, but I agree with you that they kind of said Mechagon's kind of like Timeless Isle, and I'm like, I don't know, they both kind of
Yeah, they both kind of do, and they both
feel
kind of
that
don't.
way.
Like I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a weird comparison. Like I mean, I guess in the sense that like the Timeless Isle had a lot of rares, both zones have a lot of rares. Like being able to spawn certain things and do certain things is kind of cool. Um,
right.
but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess they
I don't
saw
know.
Timeless Isle as just kind of sandboxy, not a lot of specific quests. You just kind of go out there and do whatever you want, which definitely is more
Right.
of the Mechagon vibe, because Najatar at least has like emissary quests, daily quests,
Right.
world quests. Mechagon is much more.
Just
Um,
figure it out, build what you want.
yeah, there's kind of stuff like the Pascal thing, like having blueprints is interesting. Working towards the bot was kind of cool.
Right.
Um, I wouldn't say that there was any direct comparison in Timeless Isle in that respect, but I don't know. I guess the Timeless Isle, like as a loose analogy, makes sense. But if you're trying to make it like a hard and fast rule, then it feels a bit
Stretched.
forced. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Since we're sort of getting into Mechagon, I think we're about ready to make that transition to start talking about it. Unless any last
Yeah, I
words on
mean,
Nash
like
Jar?
the Najatar stuff, like the rest of it is more patch specific, not Najatar specific. Like the Benthic gear, there's things I like, there's things I don't like. I think aesthetically, Najatar looks really cool, but it is a pain to get around. Flying certainly solves a bit of that issue. Um,
Right.
but the big thing is going to be just unlocking. Like the war campaign doesn't take place at all in Mechagon. There is aspects of it here in Najatar. That's
Right.
more story driven, and the raid coming out tomorrow. We'll
Right.
see what that has to show us or whatever. And that obviously exists here, but we can't really say definitively our thoughts on those because we haven't experienced it yet.
Yep. That is true. Um, I would say Mechagon ends up being sort of the side project, although if you're working on your Pathfinder Part 2, it's definitely shouldn't be a side project.
And Mechagon is interesting. Like, there's a lot of fun stuff in Mechagon. It's a
Yeah.
smaller place. The world PvP there is a nightmare if you're Alliance. Um, Again, a lot
I've
of
been in a
rares.
couple murder packs.
Yeah, it kind of suffers the same problem I'd say that Najatar does in terms of just like rares aren't really rare. The little daily construction projects are kind of cool. Like the turrets seem
Yeah.
relatively unimpactful. So I
Yeah.
wish that those did a little bit more. But like the reclamation rig is a great way. Like if you can do it, you just do a couple of waves of oozes and stuff. You get a bunch of resources. That's cool.
Yeah.
The charging station's great because you get tons of those empty depleted energy cells. So being
Yep.
able to charge them up as a crafting mat or whatever for your Pascal stuff is nice.
Yeah.
The platforms, like the jetpack, is incredible
I
in that
love
zone.
the jetpack. It's
Um,
so fun.
so like that's fun. Building the bot, like doing the daily quest or the quest that
Mechanical
progress. Like
Strider,
yeah, you make the little
or
like
the
spider guy. Yeah,
Mechanicat.
it's no the spider thing. If
Oh,
you're
the
doing
spider. Sorry.
the quest or whatever, each day there's a new. It's not a daily quest. It's a one time like story quest, and then eventually you build them out. So that's kind of cool to be contributing to that. But that's done now. So like that story, that ship has sailed for me.
Yeah.
Um, we're gonna have the mega dungeon, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays in lore wise with Mechagon. Because otherwise, like we're just kind of there, and there's just a bunch of gnomes. Like that's kind of how I feel. I don't know if I missed like some big story stuff, but like I'm interested to see how Mechagon expands upon the lore of Mechagon itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's an interesting way to go, especially because they had, a bit of a teaser. I think if you were Alliance, you noticed it way more than the Horde did because it's in their zone.
Yeah.
And so kind of neat that they were teasing this idea as they were moving forward, and so I hope there's some fun kind of lore implications there. I think it's a bummer that we had to uh, kick Mechatork's butt before they got to Mechagon, because I'm sure he'd love this.
I
But
mean, he's on ice or something, right? He's not dead.
he's not
So
dead.
maybe he'll come back and see it and be like, oh, look, Mecha Gnomes.
Look, it's Mechanomes. Uh, So I love the jetpack for sure, and I love the construction projects. I'm enjoying it. It's definitely the kind of thing though, that like without a guide or without friends or without stuff, like it's feels like overwhelming in a way. When you show up and you're like, what am I supposed to do? And just running around here. In the same way that it felt like Timeless Isle to me felt overwhelming when I first went there. That was like the first time I hit max. Even though I'd been playing for many years, I didn't actually get to max until Pandaria, and I remember getting to Timeless Isle and being like, "What do I do here?" And that's when I really started to get into reading like online and guides and getting add-ons to track rares and stuff like that. And so I wonder how many people end up in Mechagon going like, "Oh, what do I do here? Here's the thing. I click this. How do I get that? What am I supposed to do?" Do you know what I mean?
See, I don't mind that because, like, if you're a casual player and you don't know what's going on, then, like, I think just exploring can be fun and figuring it out.
Yeah.
As where, like, I feel like you probably feel the pressure to try to catch up because, like you said, you didn't play for like a week, so you're trying to get everything. You're trying to min max and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're more of the hardcore player base. And, like, I don't think it's unreasonable that you need to look to a guide or like confer with other people to try to fulfill that. So like I kind of like that there's a lot of layers of complexity and stuff that go into it. And if you're a casual player and you don't really care about the timing of things, then you kind of just discover it by living organically in the world. As where if you are more hardcore, then you need to kind of like go to the forums or go to Wowhead or go to the Discord channels or talk to your
Right.
guildies to kind of like, how did you spawn this, or what was the secret here? How do you complete that? Like it kind of creates a community to discover these things.
Yeah. I I like that as well. I like that we've like in guild chat, it's been cool to be like, oh, how does this work? How does this work? And we're, helping each other out or relying on each other to do some, get some help for sure, which has been cool. Um, but I did wonder about that sometimes if how people generally feel about, especially because it's tied to flying, and that's always a hotly debated topic here
Yeah, I mean, I
in
definitely missed out on some rep the first day or two because I didn't realize all the stuff that was available to us, but
right, right.
I caught on and learned, and I've been able to implement it and tried to pass it on to people as they were going. Like the fishing stuff, I didn't fish for the first day or two, and then I started doing the
Yeah.
fishing, and then I stopped once I got flying because it's terrible. Um,
Because I know
Not
I haven't done
fishing,
the
but the
fishing because I
drop
don't have
rate
time.
is just so bad. I spent like an hour and a half or 2 hours on a single fish, and I was just like, I just like for 25 rep, this is not worth it.
Right, right. That is the truth for sure. One of my favorite parts of Mechagon is the Chromie stuff. The like the future
The Yeah,
like
go to the dystopian future or whatever, where everything's
yes,
wiped out and like the Rust King is just like reigning over his ash pile.
I know. I think it's so I think it's cool. And I want to know if this is just a throwaway kind of gag or if there's gonna be like I want it to be connected to Mechagon so bad. Do you know what I mean?
It certainly would be interesting if they flesh that out and give more context as to how we got there or whatever. But I don't know, it's
Right.
fun. It's I guess a way to get you to spend your mats because making the little time displacer to get that 300 rep each day like costs a reasonable amount of resources. So like
Yeah.
once you stop doing
Yeah.
it like or stop carrying, then it becomes easier. But it is kind of fun to have that little secret. It is frustrating, I guess, if you happen to be busy one day and you miss that chromie, you missed out on a ton of rep early
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Because she doesn't come back for a
Yeah,
few
because she
days.
just spawns every now and again or whatever.
Yeah.
And being that there was 300 rep block behind getting that blueprint, like if you didn't get it, you're missing out on thousands of rep before she comes
Right.
back, which sucks.
Literally. Luckily, when I got to get back into the game, she was not. She wasn't there the first day, and the second day she was. So I haven't missed too much, but um, for sure. I think it's fun. I'm not sure it's gonna necessarily be relevant for a while, and I know we were gonna kind of talk about that a little.
Yeah, that's my
Um,
concern with both zones. Long term, once you've got your rares, once you've got your pets, once you've got exalted and you've unlocked all the stuff, what's left? Because right now it's easy to
right.
grind and grind and grind because we all want rep, we want to unlock the stuff, we want to get our rank 3 essences and stuff. But once that's done, like, do you keep like hunting rares because it's fun? Do you keep hunting rares because you really need mana pearls because the bentha gear is just insanely OP still? Or does that stuff just become irrelevant and then these zones just become another daily quest? Like you just go in, you do your emissary and you move on, and we're back to having
Yeah.
effectively no content. I don't know.
I'm wondering about that as well, and I wonder if they have, an 8.2.5 that freshes some things up, that adds some stuff. I think this is maybe a good point to talk about Pathfinder Part 2 and flying if we're good on Mechagon, because I think, well, this is where I'm going with this. Let me just throw this out here. But I wonder, like, okay, would you say the main draw of doing the content in these areas is to unlock Pathfinder Part 2 and thus unlock flying?
At first, yes. Now my drive is the achievement so I can get the 2 mounts, but that's purely because I'm a mount collector. If I didn't care about
Right,
mounts, I would have basically stopped doing mostly everything.
right. I think we have a member of our guild who unlocked flying and then said they were feeling like burning out. And I was like, woof, that's rough because it's been 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
like to get flying that quick, it took a lot
it
of
takes some
effort,
work.
but like,
Yeah,
and it certainly makes doing the rest of the stuff much easier. Like my time spent in Mechagon and Najatar now, like I can get the essential stuff done fairly quickly, which is nice.
because you can fly.
Yeah, it cuts a lot of time off. Yeah, and so like it raises interesting questions with flying because like flying makes things more convenient, which if Classic has taught us anything, that's not always a good thing. Um,
Hmm.
but I would say in an era of world quests, it's almost essential long term because they
Right.
have you covering so much ground daily just to
Hmm.
repeat the same crap that without flying it becomes tedious, monotonous, and people just don't want to do it. As where now that it's more convenient, I'm finding myself doing emissaries or I've always done emissaries, but I'm doing more world quests for AP and stuff again because it's much more convenient to just hop over really quick, knock something out, then fly off, than like trying to
Yeah.
run there or hop flight paths and all that crap. So like it does kind of breed some life back into the things that were too bothersome to do. Now they're not necessarily, so the rewards are tantalizing again.
Right.
The other interesting thing with flying is I've noticed if you get a bounty, if you're doing war mode on, and you proc a bounty, you can't fly. It will dismount you. It will drop you to the ground. You can't mount up on anybody's back. You are stuck to the earth if you have a bounty, which I think is really
That's
cool.
interesting. Yeah.
Bajira has been very vocal about he thinks war mode on no one should fly. But I think if
Yeah.
that was the case, I would never do war mode on because the 10% bonus for things
Right.
wouldn't outweigh the amount of efficiency you get from flying. Which maybe that's
Right.
like honestly, what it comes down to at the end of the day is if the goal is to remove flying because you want war mode to be about war mode, then we need to remove the bonuses. Period. Dot. And
Right.
then I think I would agree with that. But as long as you're going to provide that bonus or whatever, then war mode needs flying. I'm with Bajir. Like I don't mind get rid of flying, but get rid of the bonuses and make the perk of war mode be PvP.
That's what
Um,
Yes, absolutely. I
And
mean,
then
we
maybe
came
have a
from
couple of world quests like they've already doing, like the Battle of Nazjatar, like going back to Nazjatar. When you have war mode on, it will proc if there's enough people from both factions on there where you battle over points. It's actually super fun.
I've
Like I
loved it.
really
It was
enjoyed
a
that. And so like
blast.
if that
Yeah.
was the kind of incentives that existed, if you created more events like that as your incentive for having war mode on, not a 10% bonus to AP gains and war resources, I think war mode would be more about PvP and you would get players that want to be there and the balance would
Yeah.
figure itself out naturally. As we're right now, you've got a lot of people on the Horde that have it on because they know that they're going to outnumber the Alliance, so they're going to get the benefit without a whole lot of trouble. And there's a lot of Alliance players that don't see it worth their time, even though they're getting like a 30% bonus or something like that, because they know they're just massively outnumbered. But you get rid of the bonus for the Horde, and you make it about PvP. I think a ton of Hordes stop doing it, period, dot, right then and there.
Yeah.
And then that will automatically, because I think the issue isn't get more Alliance players, is get less Horde players. And the way you do that is you just remove the incentives. You make it about PvP, and the number of people that actually want to do world PvP on both sides is probably a lot more even than you'd think.
I think it's interesting because like we used to have the PvP server and the PvE server, and I admit fully when I signed up on a PvP server, not really understanding what that meant. I knew that I wanted it to feel like I was at war with the other faction. I won't tell you what faction I was on. Um, you know what it is, and I love them. But the fact of the matter is that there came a point where I was like, I'm not sure I like this world PvP thing, and then there were times I would love it. So what I love about war mode is the flexibility to say like somebody who's rolled on a PvP server or on a PvE server, or somebody who really wants to be in a guild with somebody else who's on a PvP server, they have the option of being there and turning off something that they may legitimately despise about the game. Like some people hate dying out in the world.
War
Some
mode
people hate it.
can be insanely toxic. Like these 40-man hunting groups,
Oh,
I don't like
dude, they
that.
are hilarious and the
The call to
worst. I hate
arms though, like I've been in a couple of call to arms group where our sole goal is killing Alliance, but that's 4 to 5 people. And I think
right.
that actually feels fair because like I was doing call to arms in Zandalar the other day,
Hmm.
because that was one of the weekly quests or whatever, and it was during
Right.
one of the Alliance invasions. And so I had a 5-man group that I started, and I ran into another 5-man group, and we wiped them out. And I didn't feel bad about it at all because it was a 5v5, and we were just simply better at PvP than they were, and we won the battle. And
Yeah.
so we were able to get our 10 kills from effectively farming this 5-man group. Now, granted, maybe they weren't PvPers, they were just trying to get free conquest for bonus AP, and they were
Right.
getting wrecked, but they opted into the war mode option. They were clearly in a group questing together, and they encountered
Right.
our 5-man group. It wasn't a 40v1, it wasn't anything crazy. It was a group
Right.
versus a group, and we won. It was fun to me, even though we
Yeah.
wiped the floor with them. And I'm sure on their end, they're probably like, fuck these guys. But
Exactly.
like,
Yeah,
that's
but you
that's where
turn it
war
up.
mode again. That's where
Yeah.
like they're opting into it, and I think that's fair. But like,
I think
I
that's fair.
hated the era of the here's a free piece of 400 gear, so you had 40 Alliance camping every flight path on the map.
Oh
That
yeah, it
shit
was
is
terrible.
stupid.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the I think I'm in 100% agreement with you that the fact like war mode should be incentivized by the fact that you want to do it. Do you know what I mean? You want
Yeah,
world
yeah, and
PvP.
I think having extra quests like Call to Arms, having the battle for
Call to
Nazjatar,
arms.
stuff like that is great, but that should be the only
Absolutely.
benefit because it helps enhance world PvP, and that should be your bonus. Is maybe you get a little bit extra AP
Right.
by completing these events, and maybe that means some people turn
Maybe
war mode
even
on, they do their weekly thing, and then they turn it off. But I like
right.
getting bonus AP. Why? They're like, well, it makes up for the
Exactly.
inconvenience of war mode. I'm like, yeah, but like,
You play war mode to play war mode. I don't know. So I'm trying to go back to like why did they why do they want more people playing world PvP? Do you know what
yeah,
I
I
mean?
don't know.
Like I don't I don't really quite understand
Yeah,
it,
I
and I
think
wonder
Battle
if
of
it's
Nazjatar is the perfect thing for war mode. I think it is spot on. It is great.
yes,
I think the bonuses are
absolutely.
anti-war mode. So like I'm still very mixed bag on my feelings of war mode. I think they've made some good changes here, but I don't think they've made like adding that was good, but they need to take away some of the other stuff. And that goes back to the
Yeah.
idea of flying, which is where we started, where
Yes.
I think it's really cool that when you have a bounty you can't fly because how annoying would that be? Somebody's with a bounty hovering
They
at the
just go
top of the
fly
map
up in the air.
somewhere
Right.
just trying to bait people places. Like no, if you got a bounty, you are legitimately being hunted. You are stuck to the
Right.
ground. It gives
And
the
you
other
need
faction
your
like something.
faction to
Yeah.
help you. Yeah.
Yeah, so it creates like a sense of like, oh shit, like okay, I'm a target now, and I think that's a good thing, for war
Yep.
mode. I'd be curious to see if they went the no flying at all Bajira route, but again, if you did that, I think you need to change the fundamental idea of war
Well,
mode to
yeah,
go with
so
it.
on that note, I got it phased into a battle of Nazjatar recently where everyone was flying but me, pretty much. And that sucked, to be honest, because I'd run to go get to a point and it would already be taken, or I'd be just like running and a bunch of people would fly out of the sky. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hilarious to me. Like I was in a battle of Nazjatar today, and
Yeah.
so theoretically, Battle of Nazjatar only procs if there is a roughly even distribution between Horde and Alliance. I came in when we were up 300 to 6 or something like that, and it's out of 3,000. I ran
Jeez.
around the entire time and didn't find a single Alliance player to
That
kill
happened
because
to
as
me
soon as it
once too.
started, they all left.
Yeah,
And then like we just farmed the NPCs, and so I didn't even get credit for the event because there wasn't even an Alliance around to kill.
me too. That happened to me as well, and so I think there's still some problems there. Um, I think
I've also been in battles in
I don't know.
Nazjatars where there have been 40-man raids on both sides battling over a single
Yes,
point,
that
which
one
is
over
super
right outside
fun.
of New Home, that was awesome. Yeah, see, there's some great moments, and I think that's part of the thing. I think you cannot bridle, this wild stallion called World PvP too much. Like I feel like you can't control World PvP too much. So
Well,
adding
World PvP is the
incentives and
best
doing
when it
stuff
just happens organically. Create
exactly.
choke points, create
Right.
conflict, and let people do what they do. And if you don't like it, then
Yeah.
don't be a part of it. But if you
Yeah.
enjoy that kind of thing, it can be a ton of fun.
Right.
It's a good way to grind honor, which can be used for essences. You can get stuff. There's a bunch of like,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of different things you can do along those lines, and it's just like it's a great concept that I still feel like Blizzard hasn't really understood what their own like tool is meant to do.
Yeah.
Like the community has an idea of what war mode should be, and I feel like they still like they gave us a great idea, and but they are not like if we could control it, I think it would be better. but
Yeah.
whatever.
I think using the PvP talents is also. I forgot about that as an incentive. I love being able to
Oh yeah,
instantly void form. Like I think that's enough right there to
I
be
get like
able to.
30% bonus chaos bolt damage. Like it's great for
Oh yeah,
like
it's
killing
insane.
rares and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Or
Like
for fighting me.
yeah, but I mean, like it's the PvP thing. Having those talents, like again, you get rid of the AP bonuses. Just having those
Right.
extra talents makes killing that stuff more efficient. Like, so you're
Right.
already going to be doing things faster by virtue of having extra abilities. So like the
Right.
10%, the 30%, whatever that crap is, like I feel like that's
Get rid of it.
completely unnecessary. Like I think it should be gone.
Yeah. Me too. Okay, we talked a lot about that. That was random, but I do want to come back around to flying. For me, here's my one of my beefs about flying. I love flying, just like convenience aside, because I just love flying. I love seeing, you know, the world from above. I love being able to fly through stuff and like see all these cool art assets. I mean, the art team is always doing a pretty awesome job. I think the level designers are doing an awesome job, and I love to just fly through the world and see stuff and get to interesting places. And I like, being able to fly and feel like I can take a little bit of time. Whereas, like in a zone like this, I feel like I'm always going to get murdered by
Oh
something
yeah, if you're
just
on the
flying.
ground, like yeah,
Yeah,
you're just gonna you can't AFK. You got
you
to go
just
to a camp or
yeah,
something.
right. You're gonna die. But so I like being able to kind of fly through stuff, and I love that. Here's one of my beefs with it is that flying feels right now only slightly better than buying it, in my opinion. I do not like the idea of buying it. There's a huge, dumb, loud vocal camp. There, I said it. They're dumb. Who say like, just let us buy it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's like the lamest way to get flying. Like, it makes no sense to me why that would happen. I wish there was some way that they could tie this in. Like, I think doing the achievements is great. I like the idea that they make you play the game and see the content for what it's worth. I'm not necessarily, I don't know about the rep grinds so much.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, like I think the achievements are too easy, which is gonna sound weird because the grind is brutal. But I think
The
like
grind's brutal,
that's
but it's
all it
just a
was.
grind.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
Like explore Najatar, that's not hard. Explore Mechagon, that's
No.
not hard. So then like the only other thing you had to do was just get to Revered. So like
Right.
it was
I
shitty
think,
because like a few of us decided to do every little thing, but like at the
right.
end of the day, like I wish there was more to it. I wish the raid
Yeah.
was somehow involved. I wish there were like maybe like the Mecha Done achievement might be a bit much, but like something that required you to do more to unlock it
Sure. I
would
think
I think be better.
I think for sure. Like to me, I don't mind the rep grind in Pathfinder 1 because you feel like you have all that time, you know you're waiting for Pathfinder 2. You play the game, you do enough. I do think that just sticking a rep grind, that was literally the
Yeah, I
only
mean,
thing I did
like,
for
why have it
flying.
in an achievement? If it was the rep grind, why don't it just be purchasable at Revered? Because that's the exact same thing.
Exactly. Exactly. That's my kind of problem with it.
Yeah.
I wish there was something lore-wise or
And
a
why
little
Revered?
quest
Why
or a
not Exalted?
storyline.
Yeah,
Exact.
why
Well,
not have it be
right,
tied to Exalted so it takes a little bit longer? Why not have it have something to do
right.
with the actual raid where
With the
like you
raid
have
would
to
be
get
cool,
in,
where
you
you
got
go
to do
through.
certain stuff, like have some more war campaign developments. Um, how like interesting would it be if in order to lock flying they want you to participate in all aspects of the game? So there was like not a
A
difficult but a
PvP.
PvP
No, but
related
like
achievement,
play three
a pet
matches or
battle related
something, you
achievement,
know?
an island related achievement, like have you do something from 8.2 in all aspects of the game instead of just and I guess to a degree that happened to me because I was trying to min max my reps, so I did pet battles for like the first time since
I've been
I
pet
got the
battling.
dumb little raptor mounts or whatever. Um, like I did some PvP because of essences and stuff like that. But like I feel like if you tied that in, force people to get out there, like you don't need to be like gladiator ranked or anything like that. You don't need to do a
Yeah,
mythic rating. You don't need to do mythic 15s. But like have some achievement like make it so that you have to have done every single dungeon in the raid at a mythic difficulty or higher. So M0 or higher including Mechagon. Have it so that
right,
you've done queued into like the new epic BG since they added
right,
Winter Grasp and they added Ashran or whatever.
right.
Have like you got to complete a certain number of epic BGs before you can do it. The new pet battle dungeon, maybe you actually force people to go in
I've
there,
never been in there.
or at least attempt part of it or something like that. Wait until season 3 and make it like so that you see the new affix combos or whatever.
See,
Like
that's
things like that
that's
get you in the game, and then it makes flying feel more fulfilling than just oh I got revered. Like
yeah, that's my big problem with it. I like a rep grind, like don't get me
oh
wrong.
I love a grind. That's why I can't wait for
Oh,
classic. But
oh man. But at the same time I'm like, if you're gonna make flying like meaningful, and I guarantee you people would bitch and moan, but I think, incentivize gameplay, like actual doing what is out there to be offered. I think you have the right idea. My biggest problem is that it's just like, well, here's another problem I have. I hate the fact that this launched and everyone is going, what do I need to do to get flying? Whereas I
yeah,
would much rather they say, here's Pathfinder Part 2 and the last part of the achievement is only possible uh, you know, 6 weeks in or something once this thing launches or something. Do you know what I mean? Where it would give people a time to not have to grind their brains out
yeah.
if they don't
I
want to.
hate the idea of time gating, but I'm with you where like if like
We're
I would
already
rather
waiting for flying.
yeah, I would
I want
rather
to know what
that
it
the
was.
rep grind, if you choose to do the rep grind, you're doing it for a specific reward on the table as opposed to
Yeah,
flying because flying is too impactful to not grind rep. But if it was
yeah,
literally just like your rank 2 essence, now you have a decision to make. Do I grind aggressively or do I go a little bit more casually knowing that I will have whatever those requirements are met before I'm actually able to unlock Pathfinder Part 2?
right.
Um, and then, like in my case, I probably would have grinded my face off just because I'm trying to get the essences and stuff like that, and I want to get to exalted so I can start working towards Paragon chests. But that's
Yeah,
my
sure.
choice, not
Right,
because
right,
I
right,
feel that it's absolutely necessary
right,
to unlock flying to make
right,
the rest of the stuff,
right.
easier or whatever.
I think putting flying behind Revered is incentivizing 2 weeks of people getting to the point where I think some people are like, oh man, I'm tired of those zones. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's weird because I'm like it creates a lot of buzz and like Blizzard loves streamers, as they've shown with their beta
Right,
keys and stuff like that.
right,
And so like when you have a
right,
lot of shit to do, it creates a lot of content, which means more uptime from those streamers. So it's a lot of exposure for the patch,
right.
which potentially gets more players in. So like from a marketing perspective, it's not dumb. But like from a player perspective, like yeah, you're saying people in our guild were already saying like I'm already a little bit burned out. I'm going to other games like and we haven't even started the
Yeah,
raid yet.
before the raid,
I'm
yeah.
like
Yeah.
dude, like you haven't even
I
seen
think we're
season
yeah.
3. We haven't even set foot in the raid. Like you're burnt out now.
Mechagonger,
Like that's
yeah,
a
yeah.
problem. Like
Yeah. But I think those, the new content will help spur some fun again. But my biggest problem, and this was this way in Legion 2, it was 6.1, you you have all the way through 6.0 or 7.0, 7.1, in this case 8.0, 8.1 to get Pathfinder Part 1 done. And I didn't feel a huge rush to do it. I did
Yeah,
it
you get it
eventually.
done when you get it done. Like as
Get it
long as
done.
you're playing
It's
the
fine.
game, for the most part, it takes care of itself.
Right. Then I think Pathfinder Part 2 should be completely different, you know. Don't have a rep grind attached to
I don't
flying.
mind having the rep grind if there is
Oh,
some
no, no, no.
other like gating in it
Yes.
that would
Yes,
basically where
sure.
if you're playing the game and you're participating in the
Yeah,
dailies, the rep will take care of
right.
itself.
Exactly. I'll get revered within I could play at my leisure and get revered within a month, which I think is reasonable and say like
Certainly.
flying's coming, you know, and then maybe if you go do the raid and at the latest people could get flying would be to maybe beat LFR or something. Do you know what I mean? Like if
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how they
yeah.
wanted to go. Like we might get it earlier because we could go in and kill.
It would be interesting if they had like requirements to kill Ajara because like our strategy to go straight into heroic, I think we'd be much more inclined to do a normal clear, which I don't
Most
love.
people want to fly.
But I've got
Yeah,
that
that's
quest,
not. I
which
don't
I
love
kind
that
of
either. I
like.
don't love
It's
that
kind of
either.
annoying because the quest already exists, and so like I'm probably going to try to pug a normal full clear this week if we don't end up doing it with the guild because I want an Ajara kill because I want to know the story before it's spoiled all over the internet. So
Yeah,
it's
me
like
too. Me too.
this mix where like as the guild I want us going in and doing heroic because I
Right.
think it's a waste of our time to do a ton of normal. But on the flip side, I want an Ajara kill, and we're not going to AOTC week one. Or if we do, this raid is
This then
insanely
something's wrong.
undertuned.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. Maybe I can pug my way into just an Ajara, like to get the normal kill, so that I can see
I'll probably pug this
the
week.
quest.
Yeah.
But like, I want the
Right.
quest done because I want to see where the story is going to go. Because I'm guessing that there's going to be some time gating thing or whatever that's going to like unlock. And if we wait to get there AOTC wise, like it's going to take a while, and
Yeah,
I
you'll
don't
be
want to
like
wait
me
that
right
long.
now, waiting on some time gating that still exists for some reason on quests that are 8 months old, but whatever.
Yeah, so it's this weird thing where like
It's a weird balance. I like flying. I will always say flying's in the game. You can't take flying out. I love that they make us run for a while. I love that the zones are designed that way. I just want it to rather I want it to feel a little better to pick it up rather than just like hit your head against this wall for 2 weeks straight and then you can do it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
I did find it interesting that a lot of people were surprised that you could fly in these zones, and I don't know if it's because of the length
Because Argus you
of.
couldn't.
Well, Argus you couldn't, but this is 8.2. Argus was
I know, right?
7.3, so this was our Broken Shore, which we could fly in.
Right.
So
But
is it
I think
because it's
Broken
taken a
Shore
lot
felt
longer to
different
get
because it was
here?
already down there. Yeah. I think because it's longer, and also I think honestly because you go to a new zone. Like you are leaving the mainland. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Whereas the
guess.
Broken
Where
Shore
we
was
saw the
always
Broken
down there.
Shore,
Yeah.
it was just full of things that would murder you. Like,
Oh man, I spent so much time down there thinking there was something cool to do. That was a dumb idea. Anyway, we could go on for a
but
while.
yeah,
I'm glad we talked about that because as I'm in the middle of this grind, and this is the second time that they've done this since Legion. I mean, Warlords had Pathfinder, and I thought that was fine, but then this is the second time they've done it like this, where it's like do these things, get these reps, and explore. And then this Pathfinder Part 2 is how fast can
get
you do it?
rep.
Yeah, how fast can you get the rep? How fast? Go, go. And so I don't like that.
Yeah, at least it wasn't like the way that Legion was, where you could grind out pearls to unlock chests to get like rep
Oh
tokens
yeah,
or whatever. So there was technically a way that you could infinitely grind rep if you were
endless. Yeah, that
willing to like
that was bad.
stick your dick in the blender for long enough. Like there's a lot of terrible things you can do to get rep in this patch, but there's nothing that's
Right.
technically infinitely returning, which was
Right,
good.
exactly. Right. Anyway, Pathfinder Part 2, good discussion. All
Yeah.
right, let's crack open the Essences and Azerite discussion. Here's an AP, I guess. This is kind of the fix. The biggest, I would say the biggest complaint and I'd say mishandled uh system situation. I mean, you're looking at an entire kind of expansion-wide progression system that flopped. That's what I'll say.
Yes,
In
Azurite has
Azerite,
been terrible thus far.
right. And so this was, they said we can't fix it now. We will fix it in 8.2. Um, the fixes are, and correct me if I'm wrong, every Azerite piece you pick up will already be unlocked down to the center.
No.
No, the first two rings.
So that's what I thought was that like they were talking
That's what
about
they
it and
said.
they're like, we know that it sucks to have to re-unlock stuff, so we're going to do away with that. They didn't do away with that. To be fair, if you do the initial quest chain or whatever, where you go like into Netherian's lair, you come back, you talk to Mother or whatever. No matter what your neck is at, it will automatically upgrade you to neck level 35, and that gets you most of the rings. And if you're playing a main, you should be well beyond that. So, like every piece that I've
Yeah.
seen thus far, I can automatically unlock. So they have lowered the requirements. But
Okay.
like my alts, I can only get the first two rings with the 35. And then you
Yeah.
got to get higher than that to unlock the rest.
Which
So
shouldn't be too
it's
much with
better,
artifact knowledge right
but
now.
it's
But
like why are there requirements? Why didn't we just do away with the requirements because everyone universally agreed that it was stupid? Like, why is there still requirements? Even if they're easy to attain, even if everybody's
right,
main can clearly do them, why
right.
are they even there? Like,
That's what
I
I.
don't get it. It bugs me. Like, it's dumb. Like, maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe this is what they said they were gonna do from the get go. But I swear they said they were doing away with it and they didn't, and
Yeah,
that kind of bothers me, like in a
yeah.
petty way.
We'd have to go check, and somebody might be able to point it to us, but we 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 may have misremembered. But I think that would have been the better choice. Nevertheless, that's one half of their fix. The other half of the fix was to man, I wish we were in war mode right now to kill that person. I felt hungry for blood. Um, the other half of the fix was the essences. Basically, you can slot in a lot of obtainable essences that are tied to your heart and that are interchangeable for different fights. So a bit of kind of like legendary style effects that you can put into your heart.
Yeah, so I like that the way that they're unlocked, they're fixed ways. Do this, get an essence.
Yeah.
And they're spread throughout the game. So, like, one of them was to win a PvP island, win a battleground, and an epic battleground. I had
Yep.
never done a PvP island this entire expansion, so it got me into PvP islands. Now, I don't plan to do more again because they were terrible, but it was something that I did that I'd never done before.
That somebody might
Um,
discover they really like.
yeah, and like so the fact that they're fixed in their way that they can be obtained, and it gets you like playing the game in different ways. I like. Um, I my
Here's what I
verdict is
like.
out on them because the best ones theoretically for Warlock I still can't get because they're either locked behind season 3, the raid, or Mechagon. Um,
Which one's that?
the what is it? Visions of Perfection and one of the other ones I forget what it's called.
Yeah. So I think my thoughts are probably similar to yours. I do like that they're targetable. I think it's cool in that way. I also like that they're sort of tied up with some neat lore connections that might.
Yeah, I mean the initial one was cool. The rest of them I haven't seen any lore for, but
Yeah, I think you have to kind of stretch for it and think, how is this connected? But in some ways, it's like, oh, okay. Even though that may be a stretch, but I think that potential is neat, and I hope that they can
oh yeah,
continue
like
to do that.
the first one, getting the dragon scale that was from Neltharion Deathwing,
Yeah, yeah.
because he was the
You're like,
dragon that
oh,
didn't
this
give
is
up the
dragon
dragon
stuff.
essence, and so it still contains some of
Right.
the power that was imbued to them. I'm like, that's cool. That's like original
Yeah.
OG Azeroth like protector shit. And we're pulling back on dragon lore. Like that's neat. Like I like that. But then yeah, like the one for
Yeah.
PvP, it's just like, oh, you can buy this for marks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's
Cool.
like these really, really fancy, cool things that are supposed to be, the leftover latent power of the, essential guardians and wardens of
Yeah.
Azeroth. It's like some nasty creature down here is like, I'll sell it to you. You're
Yeah.
like,
It's like, hey, you killed
okay,
a bunch of people. I'll sell you this for
yeah,
some of your
yeah,
stuff. I'm like, what?
yeah. But I do like that potential. I think the verdict is still out because I don't know if I'm going to be using a lot of different ones because
Yeah.
I
I
think
like
for
that there's
Shadow
another
Priest,
button to press because adding stuff to
oh
a
yeah,
rotation is fun. I dislike that
yes.
most of them are just press the button and it does damage. Like it doesn't interact with your rotation other than use it on cooldown. That like
So that's where I'm excited about mine at least because it will help me extend Void Form, and I love
is
old
that lucid
fashioned
dream or
long.
visions?
Yes, Lucid Dream. It's
Yeah,
so
Lucid
fun.
Dream's interesting because in Destruction I need to play around with it, but it increases shard generation. So that one actually directly interfaces with my spec, which is nice
Right.
because
Right.
then like I can basically have just insane infernal windows. And
Yeah.
then Visions of
Exactly.
Perfection, random proc tyrants in Demonology apparently allows you to just maintain one of your big buffs for like huge amounts of time if you get good RNG and makes it like
Right.
absolutely unbeatable single target
Right.
if you get good RNG procs, which I don't like the RNG, but at least it interacts with the spec. But like
Right.
the other one, like the Crucible of Flames or whatever, it does a lot of damage. Like
Yeah.
it sims really well, but it literally is basically a trinket where you click a button and it throws something at somebody.
Yeah. Right. And that can be kind of fun. I put a different one on. I was running a Mythic Zero yesterday on my Disc Priest, and I put on I don't even remember what it was,
It's
but
the
it's kind
mother
of fun. I
beam
think
thing.
no, it was the World Vein.
Oh, just the stats.
I don't know if it's a stats. I put a debuff on some, or I got a buff,
Yeah,
and when
World
I got
Vein, it
three of
like
it,
it procs little like spikes that like buff everybody nearby it, like gives primary stats or something.
maybe it wasn't that one then. Either way, it was something that I used on cooldown, and that when it got a high enough stack, it did something cool, which I thought was kind of neat. I don't know. So I think the verdict is still out because I don't know if I'm gonna be switching them out for things. I'm interested to see if like, we get into these fights and there are certain, I'm hoping that there will be certain essences that you want to switch to for certain fights because of the way it interacts with that
I like
fight.
that you can fucking switch them, unlike Azerite gear, where you have to
Yes,
go to a
which they
dumb
still
reforger and
didn't
spend
fix.
$1 billion on. Like you can
They
just use a
still
tome and fix
didn't
it.
fix it.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I'm
Azerite gear
so
is
mad.
still terrible.
I
So the
know. So the
essences are
essences are
automatically
good.
winning because they're better than Azerite gear, but I still can't
I
help but
don't know
feel
why they
like
didn't
essences are a
just.
little
Oh,
lackluster.
I don't know why they didn't just remove those requirements.
Yeah,
It's
it's
so
it's
so so
yeah, I
dumb.
don't get it. It like it
Because I have the gear that I want to use in dungeons, and I also want to use it in raids, but I'm not gonna pay to switch it every week
yeah,
twice.
3 pieces of gear numerous times a week, that starts adding up like
No way, no thank you. Get out of here, Blizzard. So dumb. Especially so dumb because I hate feeling like it's just a system that
well, yeah.
exists for no
If
reason.
you want the players to feel like they have control of their character, why can't we switch? Because sometimes on a single piece of Azerite gear, even if I'm not swapping specs, one of the options on it is going to be better for single target, better for two target cleave,
Yes,
better for multi target.
and it would be
So
cool to build
if you
those.
could constantly be swapping in the middle of the raid between specs, between Azerite traits, doing all that different stuff to min max the fights, maybe it'd be a little bit much for the casual player, but fuck the casual player. They're not going to do it anyway. For the people that
Exactly.
actually
And they'll be
care,
fine. They'll be
like, yeah,
fine.
like, the casual player loses nothing by
None.
allowing the hardcore players the option to min max and actually prioritize certain things for certain fights. But instead,
Ugh,
you
it's
literally have to
so
port out, go to the worst city
the
in the
one
game,
guy.
to the one dude, and pay a bunch of
Ugh,
gold to switch all your shit up. It's so fucking stupid. I
it
hate it.
really,
Azerite
really
gear
is.
is still an absolute dud in my opinion,
Yeah,
and
so
they
I
have
am
made it better, but
shocked.
it is still horrible.
Right, I am shocked that they did not just remove it,
Yeah,
honestly. But whatever.
it like literally you make that one change, and Azerite gear infinitely like is better.
It
Like
becomes
like
more interesting to
like
me
now
because
I
it's
can
not just
swap
here's
between
a
a bunch
priest.
of different shit like on the fly. Like
Yeah,
make me use a tome or make a special tome that
a
some like
special Azurite tome
make
that was lore. Give it to a
instead
profession.
instead of a tome, since inscription is already making tomes and making scrolls, give it to engineering. When's the last time engineering had anything anybody cared about? And allow it to like, I've created a device that allows you to adjust the tuning of your whatever, and like it's an
Right.
engineering item or something.
Which
Just
would then give some kind of more flavor to the feeling that you have a uber powerful artifact that is essentially forged of the blood of the planet. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
instead, you have to talk to some a-hole from the ethereal realm who's just like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
make it like some like a special like Azurite wrench or something like that that allows you to interact with your armor, and then you can retune it. It has like
You
five
call it a
charges and
sonic.
then it breaks, and then you have to buy a new one so that like
Sure.
engineers have something to make gold off of.
A
It gives
sonic
people a chance to
Azurite
do stuff.
driver.
Yeah, And then you have it from Mechagon. Have it like a thing that the gnomes came up with, and you like it's
Yes.
locked behind Revered Rep or something like that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Kaz, we should just we should design this game. At least not the game, but we should fix Azerite.
Yeah, like it'd be so
Ugh.
easy. Like it still wouldn't fix a lot of the problems, but it
No.
would make it
No.
way better than it
But it's
is.
way, way, way better because then you could go like, this is a pretty good piece. I'll keep this one. And you're still looking for that BIS where you're like, then I have
Yeah,
this one piece that I can switch between because I have pieces that are BIS dungeon and BIS raid that I'm sitting on, and I'm like, ugh,
well, destruction
that
especially. Like there is single target versus multi-target versus two target. There were very
very
different traits
different.
you want to
Yes.
run for those.
Yes.
But like I don't want to throw every piece of gear at destruction because there are times when I need to play affliction or I need to play demonology. So now
Right.
like I'm not even able to play this like a certain spec all the way because it's too expensive to constantly be changing everything.
That's
Like
Blizzard, man. That's
like it's
Activision
just
right there.
it's stupid. Like it's such an easy fix. Like and if
Bobby
you want it
Kotick designed this.
and if you want it to be a gold sink, if that was their idea, is there's too much gold on the market, we're trying to get rid of gold, then make the item that allows you to switch it out a little bit more expensive to make, or something so
Absolutely.
that engineers like are pulling
To
money
charge
off the
more for it.
like yeah like
Right.
there's ways to do it, but at least give us the flexibility. Like fuck, man, come on.
Or maybe make one of those store mounts another mount you can buy with gold.
Uh,
Ew, let's not talk about that. Ugh. Nevertheless, okay, we agree.
you technically
Azrael
can
is
if you
better.
buy tokens.
I don't like that
Yeah,
because they
if it's
still
on
get
the
money.
store, their goal is to make money. Yeah, and the only way the
Yes,
token makes money is if it sells to somebody for money. So like yes, at the end of
exactly.
the
And they're
day,
getting
even if you're not spending money, someone is. So it's still
yeah,
shit. But
it is. It is. Nevertheless, ugh. Okay, so let's see how
AP.
essences turn out. AP. So what do you think
So
of the
they
raid?
nerfed the requirements. So everyone thought that the grind to 55 was going to be awful. I'm nearly 57. And I've hardly like grinded. I mean, I've grinded, but I'm not like doing a billion islands or anything like that.
Sure.
I'm just doing a lot of world quests. Anything that offers
Yeah.
AP, I'm doing it.
Right.
So I think a lot of people were actually disappointed because they had pathed out everything, and then they're like, "Well, now we don't give a shit. Like, who cares?" Like, some people are trying to grind to like 50 or 62, but like that's 62 out of 70. 70 is the max for this patch. Some people are literally going to be the majority of the way there before the raid even opens. That means
Right.
people are going to be maxing out in a matter of weeks, and then their AP is completely worthless again. Like, I
Here's
don't understand their rationale behind AP right now.
here's what I also think is kind of dumb. Um, well, I guess maybe now that I'm thinking about it, you have 20 levels they added, but you only get something every 3. Do you know what I mean? Like, why not just make 10 levels and have each level have something? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like the something you get is just stam or whatever. Like, it's not a
Yeah,
huge
which
deal,
is like,
but like,
meh, whatever. But you know what I mean?
yeah,
I guess you get eye levels, you know, so whatever. You get eye
there are
levels.
quests that are locked behind it. So
That is true. That
like
is
at
true.
60, I unlock the next part of the quest chain or whatever for like essence stuff or whatever to get the Crucible of Flame, I think. And then it's 62 is like so. I think right now I'm at 56. So at 57, I unlock
You
the
get
next
more mercenaries.
stam. 60, I get a
Yeah,
quest. 62, I get stam. 65, I get the next miner or something like that.
right. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. To me, I am doing just I'm not hitting every Azurite quest. I don't have the time for it. But I'm, doing my islands, getting my Mythic Plus, getting my PvP chests, doing anything that gives a chunk of AP, including I need to do a Warfront today. Yeesh. But but I don't know. Uh, I don't know. We'll have to see how much it like really matters. It still doesn't feel great to me to necessarily just grind
Like
AP.
I
It doesn't
don't
feel like I'm
like
unlocked.
I don't like AP as it is right now because basically what people care about is 65 because that gets you the
Right.
3 essence slots. So people are going to grind their face off to get to 65 and then they're going to completely stop caring. I
Exactly.
kind of liked the artifact weapons in that once you had all of your like circles filled, then you were just getting that small increase to like int every time.
Burst
So
or
like
whatever
or
was
yeah,
it? Oh yeah.
whatever it was it went to or whatever, that one that filled up to like 55 or whatever it
Right.
was. Like I don't mind that like you're able
Endless
to
sync.
gain AP, it will continually increase your eye level and it will give you primary stats or verse or whatever it is. so that like there's always a reason to get it and it's going to make you more
And you're
powerful,
gonna
but
be
there's
a little
never a
better than me,
reason
yeah.
to like basically
Right.
like buy a 24 pack of Red Bull, sit down and not sleep for 36 hours because you have to hit X number AP in order to unlock
Right.
whatever it is to be useful in raid. Like I don't like they straight up said they're like 55 is reasonable if you try hard and 65 will be unobtainable before raid, but there's some people that are gonna be pushing 65 fairly quickly.
Right.
Um, and like I don't think it's healthy to create a system with that incentive technically being
Right.
achievable.
Even if it is not the
Even if it's
majority of the
awful,
player base.
if it
Even if it's not the
exists,
majority of the
there's
player
some people
base.
that are going to feel the need to do it, and I don't think that
Right.
that's like I don't think that's
Or
healthy.
they'll feel bad at the very least that they're not doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if instead it was you can get as far as you want, you can grind as much as you want, but all it's going to do is going to lead to a like every level gives you 100 verse or something like that, or 50 verse maybe.
Right.
Like
Right.
that adds up because a lot of verse you get, you get 5 extra levels, 250 extra verse, that's survivability, that's flat damage, that will matter.
Yeah.
But like it's
Yeah.
not like something as significant as unlocking an additional
It's a
essence
trait.
slot. Like
Exactly. That's
like
why I'm
it's not
wondering.
gonna
I'm not
make
going
or
to
break
be
like
right.
the bank. Like
I'm not going to be 55 by raid, so I'm wondering, will I see a significant difference between, before the minor trait and after the minor
I
trait?
guess it depends on how traits scale with you or whichever ones you use, but like I would assume that
So
it will
we're gonna
make
see.
a notable difference. Like
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering because like I have yet to check everybody's heart levels. I'm gonna check that after this, but I'm just gonna see what we're walking into here, but I'll be interested to know. Of course, my bar is if I'm beating most people, then I'm doing okay. Either that or everyone else is
I'd
doing
say if
pretty
everybody's
good.
about 52, we'd be okay. If we're
I think
too
so.
far behind that, I'd be a little concerned,
Yeah, I
but
think
I don't
that's
think
where
it's gonna
everyone is.
kill
It
anybody.
has not been hard to one catch up and two kind of push it. I'll be
No.
53, maybe
There's
54.
there's a lot of AP to be had if you're willing to look for it. Like
Right,
doing your world quest, turn in your emissaries, do your
right,
islands. Like it
right.
exists. Do a warfront.
But again, with the artifact knowledge and stuff, or the Azerite knowledge and stuff, there comes a point where it is almost more beneficial for people to just like, I'm gonna wait a couple weeks and then grind out a bunch because
Yeah.
it's gonna be way easier. But so I don't know how to fix the system necessarily. It's not my favorite
Yeah, I'm of the
grind.
mindset that if you're gonna have an infinite grind like that, it should literally just allow for a small incremental increase. Like I didn't mind the fact that just the neck every time you level it up, it went up an item level, which meant you were getting a little more haste, a little more crit, a little more mastery. Like just have that be like you're just getting secondary stats. So the higher it is, the more you've got, and it will matter if you're somebody's 5 levels
Yeah,
ahead of you. They're gonna do more damage. They're gonna do
right,
more healing. They're gonna have more stamina and be more survivable.
right,
But like I
right.
don't love there being big unlocks that are deep down the tree.
Exactly. And to be honest, I'm still missing, a progression system outside of a power level. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
feeling like there's rewards and things to do. I think Legion did that so well with skins and Mage Tower and um, like just the kinds of mounts you could get with your order hall and stuff that had nothing to do with how much damage you did, but all to do with how you looked and felt about your character. So I'm still missing that, and AP doesn't do anything for that. You can't
Yeah,
even see
theoretically,
the
essences
item
fit
you're
that a
pumping.
little bit because
But
if you get the rank 4 essence, then it creates a cosmetic effect when it's used that's supposed to look really
yeah,
cool. So that'll be interesting
that's cool.
depending on what the animations look like. Maybe that'll fill that gap a little bit,
Hopefully they'll be awesome.
but
Yeah,
that remains to be
I guess
seen
we'll
as I
see.
don't think any 4s are available to anybody yet.
Right. Anyway, AP. Can't live with it. Can't live without it.
Yeah, it's a good thing in that it provides continuous like value to certain things like doing older raids, killing rares and stuff, but I still don't know that it's being used the way that it necessarily should be. But I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, taking a little pivot over here. Gonna drop into the lore section. Talk a little bit about kind of our lore predictions. I don't think we need to talk too in depth about it because we're coming right into the raid and we'll probably learn some stuff. But since, let's see, quick recap. Sylvanas burned a tree. She did some things. Sourfang didn't like it. Sourfang ran away. Bane doesn't like Sylvanas either, so
Yes, we've got
uh,
what Bane, Thrall, and
Bane, Thrall, and
Sarafang
Saurfang
are now in team overthrow the
cahoots,
leadership.
essentially, right? And so in 8.2, we go to spoiler alert, in case anyone
And
hasn't caught up.
Lorthamar seems to not be
He's
super on
also
this. The like, I
yes,
don't know if he's part of their conspiracy yet, but he's definitely expressed his concern with Sylvanas. Like the only one really on Sylvanas' side is Nathanos, and he is like
that's it.
unquestionably her follower.
Oh, faithful. Oh yeah, undown. Yeah, and Thalrissa, Thalisra. Jeez, I can never say it. She's also not too fond of Sylvanas either, it seems, because they
And
remember she's
Talanji
ended.
straight up was like, "No, we're equals. You don't like." And I was like,
I'm a queen, you're a queen. Yeah.
I didn't dig that since Dark Lady is my lady,
Dark
but
Lady, watch over you. Yeah, I know. I feel it. Nevertheless, they go to rescue uh homeboy, Bane, from the clutches of the Banshee Queen and Ogremar and port out of there back to Thunderbluff. And somebody remarks, we were having an argument about who it was. I think it's Thrall, I couldn't remember. That essentially Thunderbluff's going to burn because of his betrayal.
and I didn't watch any of the other YouTube videos out there from other creators and stuff, but I saw something where like somebody was putting together a thing where they think that Blizzard's setting up for a big world change, like Cataclysm style rework. Right now, they're just knocking off capitals to facilitate that. um,
Whoa,
I'm like,
that's
that's
some
an
big
interesting
foil
conspiracy
hat.
theory, but like, yeah, I mean, we lost Arnassus, which was remote. We lost the Undercity, which was remote. We're killing off Thunderbluff, which no one uses, maybe question mark.
I love
Um,
Thunderbluff.
so like, yeah, where are we gonna
You
have the
think it'll
Darkmoon
happen?
Fair? I don't know.
You think it'll happen? You
I
think she'll
don't
burn it?
like. I don't. I think. My guess is we're gonna have a standoff in Thunderbluff of some kind. Like it's gonna, she's gonna
It's
show
gonna be
up,
like a war
but
front
like Bane,
against
Thrall, and all
Sylvanas.
of them aren't gonna let it happen, and so there'll be
Yeah.
some kind of showdown or something. I don't know. We've got Jaina's back in the picture, and all of a sudden, like the lady who like we fought as a raid boss and nearly killed is totally cool with Thrall and everybody. Like doesn't have an issue with anyone but Sylvanas because like
How do you relate
somehow it
to that
doesn't make any
position?
sense. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. The story is interesting, but I don't like it. Is like
I
how I really feel. Like it doesn't make sense to me. You look at everything and you try to find motivations, and nothing feels like it fits.
I think one of the problems for Blizzard is that they are trying to tell a really intricate and complex story that I think could be. It has the potential to feel awesome. The problem is I'm not it's so hard to keep track of things. Like meaning so for instance, you pointed this out before we started today and I thought the same thing and I thought for sure I missed some quest line. But we go
Yeah,
and
we start out on a boat with Nathanos, right? And we're like, why the
yes, because
fuck are
he's
we
like,
here?
yeah, we gotta go. Get on the boats. And you're like, okay, we get on the boats. And it is mid-chasing of this thing where the Alliance is chasing you. And I guess that's
I
their
wonder,
quest,
is
is
that on
that
the
they
Alliance
go.
side maybe? And there was
No,
like
no,
some
no, no, no,
intel, but
no. I
like,
don't think so. They just go like this. They're like, hey, the Horde's leaving. This is our chance to go kill them. Let's go. And then they start the same
it's like
exact.
one horde boat though, like, and the
It's,
entire
yes.
Alliance fleet. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And then
I don't know what's going on. Ah,
clearly Ajara has some intel about it because she knows they're falling into her little trap, which I'm guessing was
right.
somehow a deal that was made between Naifu and Nazoth, who is whispered through Ajara that set it up or something. But like Nathanos is
But,
holding Zolotov, so like there supposedly was some intel there, but Sylvanas isn't even
but what are
fucking
we
present.
doing here?
Like
I know.
it feels so confusing. Like I
Is
don't get it
Sylvanas
at all.
friends with Ajara?
I don't know.
I don't
It
know.
it just doesn't. It feels so artificial to me, and I think that's my problem. Is like there's such an opportunity for some like grand telling of like why this is happening, but
But
like
it's connective tissue that's missing, for
yeah,
me at least. Like knowing more motivational stuff. And I would not mind a short story or two if
they
that's
did
how
a
I'm gonna
comic,
get
but
it.
that was for Mechagon. There was nothing
I
about the
know.
big narrative going on here in like
Or where
in
Sylvanas is
Fishland.
at emotionally, or
Yeah,
even where
where's
Anduin's
Sylvanas
at.
at physically? Like where is she
Right.
right now? Where the fuck is Sylvanas? Like the person leading the thing down here is Thalysra and Lorthamar. Like,
Right. And where's Nathanos?
yeah,
He
what
walked
happened to
off into the
Nathanos? He
water.
started his thing. He's like, I've got stuff to attend to. It just disappeared. I'm like, oh, so apparently he can
Yeah.
escape without a portal. But like, I
I don't
don't
know.
get it. Like, it
So
seems there's
so
so many loose ends, so many loopholes.
all right. So that's where I'm hoping that they will just double down into let's just go big and anime. Like
Well,
let's
and
just
I want to know like the Tidestone too, right? So she makes jokes about us not guarding it. Like,
well we
if
left it in
yeah,
that
we left
where
it.
with tied with Mistress Sazine or whatever Mistress
Didn't
what's
we
her name
collect
again?
all the anchors and put them in Dalaran? I thought, but like maybe
No, we
were
did,
those
but then we
different
took
things?
them to the tomb. We took them to the
Okay, that's
tomb
right. Yeah, we put them there.
and we
So we put it
left
in the
them in the
tomb.
tomb.
And so we just left it. So like, if you go back to Tomb, is it gone? Like how cool would
It
it be if
should
there
be.
was a quest that took us there and we actually get to
And when
explore what's going on? Because like, if she just
right.
straight up took it, you'd assume that there was some like we had encampments on the island around the fucking thing. Like, did we really just like pack up and leave? We're just like, oh fuck it, who cares?
I think they
Like
came in a big portal like where the fish jumps through during that fight. Because
yeah,
that's where we left it. We left the Tidestone after you killed that mistress. What was her name? Mistress Azine, am I right?
it sounds right.
Okay. You kill her, and then we left the Tidestone and we went upstairs and never went back down, I guess. So it would be cool if you went back in to be like, how did this happen? Although I think lore-wise, we're supposed to be stuck here. That's what's weird
Yeah, but
about
we
it.
opened up the portal, so like, yeah, she's
We
like,
can
oh,
get
well,
out.
we'll
Okay.
hang out, but we've got the portal to leave, and then you haven't done it yet, I don't think, because you still have the lady behind us standing there. But the Tidestone is at least addressed a little bit in
Yes.
terms of like
Yes.
the like. So theoretically, now we're preventing the water from collapsing. I don't know.
I
It's
don't
it's
know.
all very confusing. The entrance to the raid looks fucking cool though. Once you do that quest, you go through the little portal. Like I can show you after this. You can watch my stream, but it looks really neat.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Here's the thing. I think they made it so that the water is a big wall around us because they didn't want a water zone. Ultimately, because
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
fair.
think we should have gone down, but that's my personal feeling. But because I like Vashir, call me
Well,
crazy, but I
it's
like
weird
Vashir.
to me. Like she opens it up to trap us,
Yeah,
but
which is
then like
cool.
all
So
these
then
underwater creatures are just like fuck it. They're just like the rays all of a sudden can fly instead of swim. It's like sure,
exactly.
why
Why
not?
not? But that's where I'm saying then why not go down there and have us be able to walk around? Like
Yeah,
sure,
yeah, yeah. I don't know.
you know.
Yeah, it would have been easy
I think
enough.
they could have done it underwater and had it feel that way because like I love the idea of her using the Tidestone or whatever to be like let's open up this huge wall, crash their ships, and then shatter them with this water, just like bam, and then we're barely like just alive down here, which would be cool. And
I
like
can't
in the
help but
dark
wonder
of the
though,
deep.
like I feel like conspiracy theory. I think somehow Sylvanas and Ajara might be in league, because if you look at the boats, like the Horde boat is mostly intact, just chilling.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like the only
Alliance
boat,
boats.
as where the Alliance boats got fucked. So like I can't help but wonder if deep down inside there's supposed to be some meta thread going on where Sylvanas through Zolotov and like secret
And
dealings has
Ashara are
something.
looking to bump off Nazoth. You think that's what's going on here?
Maybe I don't know, like, or maybe it's some deal because she's an insane sorceress or whatever that it'll like allow Sylvanas to gain favor or gain abilities because she's still trying to grow her power base for like creating undead. Maybe there's some Hellish shit because that was never resolved. God knows what's going on there. Like I don't know.
I don't know. So the good news is that Ian says we will know who the final boss is of the expansion when we kill Ajara by the end of the
I
raid.
certainly hope it's not Nazoth because it's so on the nose. Like I
It's so
want
on the
there to
nose and
be
it's
an
so quick.
interesting
So
twist.
quick. Yeah. I like the fact that he's not
I
quite
hope
hulking,
we don't
you
kill
know?
Ajara. I like
I hope
she
we don't
seems
either, but I hope
incredibly
she doesn't
powerful.
become our friend.
Yeah, I
I
want
hope she
her
doesn't
to
become
be
our
like,
friend.
oh,
I
I
want a
guess
cool
I
ban out of her,
underestimated
you
you a
know?
bit, and then she disappears and goes somewhere else to Nilotha or
Yeah.
something.
Oh, that's cool. Where she retreats and then we kill her as the part of the raid on Nazoth, the next expansion or something.
Perhaps. But
Sure. I hope
I
we don't do.
really love Ajara's character so far. She's incredibly arrogant. She's very like in our face, but like I am all about like her character is so fitting that if we just beat her, we just show up, walk into her trap and beat her, like we're too OP or she's a pushover. Like she needs to live.
She needs to wreck us. Well, her fight seems complicated enough. um, I don't know. So I don't know if I can make any hard and fast predictions other than
I assume
uh,
N'Zoth is either going to be free or it's going to be very close to being free.
yeah, yeah. Here's some other interesting things as
Is
well.
Sylvanas the final boss? Is she gonna betray us in the
That's what
courtroom?
I'm wondering. They said they wouldn't Garrosh her, but
So
maybe
it'll
they
be
have something.
Nathanos instead as the final boss.
Or it'll be like morally gray. It's gonna be morally gray, and you're like Blizzard. I don't think
And
you know what
wins the
that
final boss.
right. I don't think you know what that word means. Then,
Or all of a sudden Tyrande shows up, but because of her like Dark Side of the Moon powers, because she went Pink Floyd, like she's gonna actually be like Omega corrupt, and she's gonna like transform into an old god herself, and we're gonna have to kill her as the final boss.
or Illyria, Windrunner goes nuts out of nowhere. Oh,
Ebon
the
Horn
Windrunner
becomes like a
sisters.
crazy dragon. We have to fight Deathwing round 2. So we have Spine of
I'd
Ebon
like
Horn.
dragons. I think we're gonna have dragons next expansion. That's what I like. I'll make a
There's
9.0 here.
there's
I'll
been a
drop it.
lot of Dark Prince sightings. Like if you pay
Yeah, a
attention when
lot
you're
of
doing the
that.
Ebon Horn thing, there's like a stealth
Yes.
dude in the cavern, and you
Hmm.
talk to him. He's like, don't mind me.
He's like, what? Nothing. Yeah. There's also been, the essences
We've
are
heard about the
talking to the
Dragon Isles, right?
Dragonflight, and
Yeah.
that, yeah, and that he's searching for the Dragon Isles. So I think that's kind of where we're headed, which could be cool and fun. I love the dragons. I think as far as the rest of this expansion, keep wondering about dissolving factions or adding a third faction. I'm not sure that's what they'll do, but we have it again. Thrall and Jaina point out what everybody actually Thrall says.
Why do we
No,
keep doing
Lorthamar
this again?
says. Yeah, Lorthamar says, well, we're working together or something, and he says, well, that's the exception, not the rule. Except for I'm like every expansion we work together, so I don't know.
Well, and Blizzard even in their dialogue was like, "This isn't the first time we've gone to overthrow a war chief." I'm like, so they realize they're just doing the same shit. So like, if it's the same outcome, I'm gonna be furious. Like I
Yeah,
can't help but like, there like the story of Warcraft is great. So like, there've got to be
right.
creative people that have like a good outcome, right? Like, is
Yeah.
it
Well,
too
no,
much
no.
to
Yeah,
trust that they're gonna
absolutely.
give us a good story? Because so far I have been underwhelmed, if not disappointed, but like
Yeah.
we haven't seen anything to a conclusion, so it's hard to judge because maybe it's this massive Jonathan Hickman style, like 1,000 things, and it all of a
Yeah,
sudden comes
exactly.
together and
It
just like,
comes together, and you're like, what
oh
the? Yeah.
shit. And if that
I
happens, I
can.
will be thoroughly impressed, and I hope that
Yeah.
happens. But like, there's
I hope so
so
too.
many loose ends that like after Legion, when they built all these narratives and then
Right.
just abandoned them all, like I
Right.
can't help but feel like we're setting ourselves up for another just like we're
Right.
just gonna
Where it's
forget like everything again. Like I really hope they follow through. Like
I'd rather they just torpedo through one line and have it be really kind of cool. You know what I mean?
yeah. Instead of telling 8 different stories, tell one good one. Like
Right.
please.
But I'm hoping. I'm hoping. I'm optimistic still. I think that they're weak in the small storytelling. Because it costs a lot to make.
It takes time and assets, but like
Cinematic
at the end
and
of
the
the day, if you
assets
do
and
that kind
whatnot.
of stuff, that makes the game better and it brings players so they make up their money in the
Yeah.
long run. But I
I
don't know.
think I think Legion did well because it was so kind of focused and over the top. It was cool to get Illidan out, and we did Illidan and who was Draenor Daddy. His name is Velen. You know what I mean? So it was like that was kind of the focus and the push through, and that was kind of epic and redonkulous. And I think that was fun for us. And so this is like it's hard to know, it's hard to see. We haven't seen Sylvanas
So
in a
here's a
long
question for you.
time. Yeah,
So we're about to go up against Ajar, right? Who's considered one
sure.
of, if not like the most powerful wizards, sorcerers, mages, whatever you want to call her, like in the
Yeah,
world, right?
yeah.
Where's Khadgar? And like,
Oh,
where's
dude,
the
he went
Kirin
to
Tor and
sleep.
stuff? Wouldn't you think that if this was a thing, like Jaina's here, theoretically, maybe,
Mhm.
um, but I would think we call in Khadgar, we call in other mages like from the Council, the Kirin Tor,
We get
like
Kalikos.
if we're about to battle one of the most powerful mages on the planet,
Hmm.
where are where are our guardians? Where is the Kirin Tor? Where are the defend like
There's no Guardian right now, right? Because nobody's
because
accepted it.
because yeah, because Khadgar refuses to take the
Khadgar won't
title,
do
but
it.
he effectively is.
He is. Maybe Jaina should be.
I don't know. I feel like there's a cool
I don't know.
opportunity to bring some people back into the fold that we haven't seen. Like it's cool to see first Arcanist the Lysra or whatever doing her thing amongst the Horde because
I
she's
like
like
her. She's
a
like one of my
badass
favorite
mage.
characters.
Like, and so I'm
Yeah,
digging
she's
her
cool,
being
and she
around.
overthrew. Yeah, came from a withered. I love her. I think their feeling is that they did a lot of Khadgar and Draenor and Legion, and they needed to step
So
away.
so don't make him the guy, but have him present. Like,
I think we'd all
or is it
love to see
because it's
Khadgar. We love
is it
Khadgar.
because it's a faction war? Like he's not willing to side, so he's just staying away from the conflict
Isn't that what he
completely.
said? Didn't he say something like
I don't
that?
know.
He's dumb. Anyway, I hope he comes back.
Let's just float Draenor or Dalaran right above us right here and just set up the Kirin Tor right over the gap.
That's how 8.3 ends. It's like Jaina's ship, only Khadgar shows up with the
Yeah.
whole city.
The
No,
ghost
it's not
Dalaran.
even. It's his own. It's Karazhan shows up.
Yeah. Disco Karazhan blinged out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh man, I have no idea what predictions to make other than Bane will ascend to be the war chief.
Bane's the logical choice because Thrall seems like he's a giant pussy now and refuses
And
to
I don't
take the
think
title.
Seraphine wants it. I think he wants somebody he
I
can.
think after Sarafin walked away, he can't take it. Like he
Right.
basically abandoned the Horde. So even if he's gonna stick around and like serve them, I don't think he has any place as the war chief. Like I think
No,
the
but I
only
think
person
Bane,
that can
I
do it
think
would be
Bane will
Bane
do
at this
it.
point. Although I wouldn't mind
I
putting
like Bane.
Thalyssra or somebody like that. That'd be badass. Or even Lorthamar. I'm really digging Lorthamar right now.
I think I
But
do
I don't.
too.
I
I
think
think
he
he
straight up
looks.
said that he could never lead
No,
either.
the Horde because he's an elf, and I think that's too hard for him. Honestly, I think it would be hard to put an elf in there. Honestly, because there's too many of this like classic Horde. Like think about the Horde in its classic look. You've got trolls, you got orcs, you've got Tauren.
Let's
You
just
know,
got Bomb
like
Samdi, man.
oh,
Bon
dude,
Samdi for faction chief.
he's up to something somewhere.
Yeah, I
He'll
want
come
to
back
know more of that
later.
storyline with all the stuff with
It's hard.
Zul'jin or
There's so
whatever,
many
because
things going
he's
on.
like, who whispered you? And it's like, we don't know. And then he talks about, oh, the boss not gonna be happy. So like, what's going on with the Loa there? Like, I feel like there's a story there that's
I
completely
think
untold that's been shelved as we deal with this stuff.
yeah. So and I'm okay with that. You know, in the same way that you drop Easter eggs in comics or in movies or in things like
But
that.
you need to
You
touch
know,
on it. Just give us a little bit with each thing. Like, it doesn't need to be the main story, but we need to have something to show that that story is
right,
still progressing instead of just
right.
forgetting about it for 3 patches.
Right. I wish that they. And here's a great way to do it. Here's a great way to do it. I just came up with
Maybe
this.
we
You ready?
will, because maybe there's stuff in the raid.
Maybe there is, but here's another great way to do it. I think. Add a world quest. That does something in that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think world quests are a way of showing change in the world. For instance, you know, they added in doing the crab version of the other thing. That's not lore specific at all, but I mean, like, they could add in a world quest, where it has some very small thing you could touch on and go, oh, what's going on here?
Or
You know
what
what I mean?
about we make our follower missions actually useful, where you send them on a very specific mission that only shows up every now
You
and
get a
again?
quest.
But yeah, it brings back a
Right.
quest to go do something. Like, go explore
Go
this isle.
turn
Oh
something
shit,
in.
we just found
Sure.
whatever. There's signs of this going on. Go explore it. And then you go visit a zone and you do something.
Sure. So there's some ways to, I think, you know, touch on stuff, even if it's text based, you know, like,
Yeah.
come on. So
But yeah, I
anyway,
mean, I don't know. We'll have to see.
I don't,
Like, we can
I
predict
don't know
out
where
the
to land
teeth,
on
but like,
this. I know.
I think at the end of the day, I'm still holding my breath, hoping that it's gonna be good. But so far, I'm not
I think
blown
it
away with
could
any.
be.
It has tons of potential, but I have yet to have that moment where I'm like, all right, this
Yeah.
story is awesome. I'm kind of like, well, it could be cool, it could be cool, it could be cool, but we're like never getting to the
Right.
point where I feel fulfilled.
I think when they tell a lot of these internal narratives, I think they're cool, but I think they succeed much better at a big bad. You know, give
Yeah,
us a big bad,
a big
and we
bad.
want to kill.
Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah, we
but
want.
like classic didn't like I guess it like every thing had a big bad, but there
Yeah,
wasn't a big bad for the expansion because like Ragnaros was your molten core big bad.
yeah.
Like
You just
he was
like,
a big
yeah, go
deal,
kill a
and then
bad guy. Yeah,
Nefarian like going into Blackwing Lair or whatever, like a big
right.
deal.
And then I think they decided, yeah, we're gonna start kind of progressing towards something over an expansion. Put Illidan on the box, and that's where we'll end. You know, like, I don't. Ooh, what do we got here?
I've got a full bags is what we have here.
Oh, do I have a bag? Nope, I still got plenty of space. So, I don't know. I'm not ready to make any predictions because it could go anyway. I think though, I'd like to. I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm interested to see how Sylvanas gets out of here and
I
Bane
think
goes up.
I
Those are
think
my
this
predictions.
I think this
Bane's
is
going up,
actually going to be.
Sylvanas is going down.
I expect a big cutscene at the end. I expect there to be a hidden mythic phase. Like I think
Yeah,
if we don't have those, I'd be very disappointed because where Old Deer
yeah,
like was a cool raid and had lore, it wasn't necessarily story centric to the story so far, and
right.
BOD was interesting, but like lore wise, it had effectively no impact, other than like the war campaign showing that we're at war with
Well,
one another.
Rastakhan
But
died at
like yeah,
least,
but I guess but there wasn't even
and
like
Talanji became the
yeah,
queen.
all of that was after the raid, but I like we haven't had anything in the raid that's been like super impactful, like in terms of stuff. So like,
Like, do you remember walking into Tomb and having Velen scream? Oh, that was great. That was cool. I liked that. That was some cool stuff.
yeah, yeah, I mean like or just like the Gul'dan cutscenes and stuff. Like I don't know,
Those were
I
good.
like we need that. We haven't had that in either of the raids. We haven't had a hidden mythic
Right.
phase in a while. I think this like especially if this is going to like lead the path with old god stuff or whatever direction we're going. I think there needs to be a very impactful cutscene at the end of it, which is all the more
Right.
reason why like I'm happy we're doing heroic right out the gates, but like if like I
Oh, I'm
can't
gonna
help
pug
but
it.
say
Yeah.
I really want to get through normal this week.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna pug it. I'm gonna pug it. But nevertheless,
It's gonna be
so
so
with
AIDS.
that note, we are gonna talk about the raid. We don't have to talk about a lot because we're gonna come back around to it and kind of talk
Bosses look
retrospectively.
interesting.
Yeah.
First few look
I'm
kind of underwhelming, but that's the first few. That's kind of standard. The water boss looks interesting, but I think it'll be just I don't know. It
It'll
is
be
what
too
it
easy.
is.
I don't think it'll be as far enough of a
A lot of
stretch as
single
it
target
could
fights
be.
early on, which is interesting.
Yeah. So the only questions I have are just your predictions. Where do you think most people, most guilds,
Ashvane, I
probably
think, is going to be
including
the
ours.
first hard fight.
Okay. That's where people will stick Stonewall.
Yeah, I think we'll get the first three easy. I think we'll kill the first three the first day, and then I think we'll
Hmm.
spend most of Wednesday on Ashvane. Um, I think we'll finish the week 4 of 8 heroic.
Yep. Here's my one Zakul looks nuts, but potentially very fun with
He's
all those
boss
phases.
5, right?
I think that's the penultimate one. This is the guy who does all of these in
Or
between
is he the old
realms.
god guy or whatever? So he's
He's
the
the old guy. Yeah, he's right before Ashara.
okay.
So
So
you
he's boss
do all
7.
those like all those realms and stuff. That could be kind of fun and some communication involved. Um, the one I'm hesitant about and worried about is shoot, which one is it? There's a lot of random ad spawns that sound like there's a lot of overlaps too. Oh, the council fight, I think. The council fight looks like it could be a potential coven RNG
I
mess.
hope it's not too RNG based.
That's what I'm worried about, is that it'll just end up being kind of a like you can deal with these things, but if you get the wrong uh yeah, it's the coven. The coven is the one where Ashara comes and gives the decrees and says, "Go do this thing," but if it's happening at the same time as somebody else's spell
There's a
that you have
weak
to
aura
stack
for
for
that
or
that
this.
apparently is going to be very useful that I downloaded that helps you
Oh,
discern what
really?
you're supposed to be doing. So we'll see it. We'll try it out when we get there, and if it's awesome, I'll share it.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. But that's the one I'm hesitant about. But that's all I'll say about the raid because we're gonna come back and talk about it another time. But I'm excited to get in there, mostly
Yep,
for lore reasons. Man, we are cruising, and by
an
cruising,
hour and a half in.
I know, right? We are
Our
we are
1 hour
cruising.
show, yeah. But we're
I
getting to
think
the
we've
end of our
pretty
list here.
much. I think we have. We talked about war mode. I think we've covered a lot of that.
Yeah, big thing. Season 3 starting tomorrow, whatever. Mythic Plus. I'm not looking forward to Beguiling. I think it looks terrible. I hate the random spawns. I'm going to very much miss Reaping. Um,
Me too.
but I haven't tested it,
I've en-
so I can't say for sure. I've just seen people play it, and it doesn't look enjoyable to me.
I've
Um,
enjoyed reaping this season a lot, honestly, because
I mean, it's
I like to
targetable.
do damage. It's fun.
It takes some thought to figure out when you're going to proc it.
Right. And a
Um,
tank's got to know what they're doing and
you want to have CDs for it, but
right.
then it allows you to do crazy numbers for a short period of time. So it's lethal if you
Which
fuck it
is
up, but if you plan it
but it's
well
so
and you
fun
line
if
it
you
up,
do it
it's
right.
relatively inconsequential. So like good groups,
Right.
it doesn't slow you down much. It's fun to do big numbers. Bad groups, it causes a problem, which is what an affix
Right.
should do.
Right.
Beguiling just looks like all it's serving to do is just slow
Looks
you
trolly.
way down,
Yeah.
which
Looks
is
trolly.
annoying.
I uh I predict nerfs to it.
Especially the one that's like one-shotting you on the second cast that you
Yep.
can't line of sight and
Yeah.
apparently has such a huge
Yeah.
health pool. Yeah, I I
Yeah.
I fully expect that to be
I
nerfed,
predict nerfs.
like because I think like it's gonna be
Yeah.
people are just going to go into it and just die 3 times and then it runs out of energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's gonna be that way. Otherwise, we've got the raid, new PvP stuff
Mechagon, I'm
happening.
super excited
Mechagon.
about. The fights look fun but simple enough. Like I
Yeah.
posted in our Discord that Hazel's Nutty Games like guide is the only one I've really
Yeah.
seen, but she does a good job of breaking it
I
down.
look forward to it.
I think it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm curious how long it is in terms of trash and stuff like that. I want to do
Mm-hmm.
it before raid tomorrow because there's an essence in there that I think would be great to have. So hopefully, like tomorrow will be a full day and it'll be fun, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I love 5-man content, and I wish they would spend more time on 5-man content, aside from Mythic Plus. Mythic Plus is getting a little derivative for me, and I love,
They need to
and I
mix up
know
the
it's so much work.
affixes.
It's so much work for them. Yes, they need to mix up the
You just
affixes.
just change the combos, change the affixes, throw
Take
in a
some
couple
out.
of new
Take
ones.
some out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
put them in
exactly.
rotation, and that's all you got to do to change it. And all of a sudden, it's fresh and fun.
Exactly. That's the thing. Whereas, like, I can say goodbye to freaking bursting forever.
Bursting's
I hate it.
shit, dude. I hate bursting.
Yeah, I
Necrotic's no
hate it.
fun. Bolstering's kind of annoying.
I hate when it gets in the way of playing your game.
Well, yeah, when it's like basically like no matter how good you are, if you pull too big, you will die. Like that's stupid.
Right.
Like there should
Yeah.
always be a way to overcome it. So they need to either go back to the pre-buff version where you could take up to
Right.
10 stacks and survive,
Right.
or they need to like rework it somehow where it like caps or
'Cause
something.
right. Either way, really looking forward to Mechagon. I hope I get as much enjoyment and fun out of it as I did with
It's got some interesting
Kirazan.
loot. It looks like it's fun and wacky and zany. It's different aesthetics, so I'm hoping it's fun. I'm hoping that it's something I
Yep.
want to do every week instead of something I
Yep.
feel like I need to do just for essences.
Yeah. We'll have to report back on that as well.
New
Um,
PvP season, I don't think there's anything changing really. Like
nope.
it's just
I think
I'm
it's
gonna
just
go
gonna
back
be
to filling up
more.
my conquest bar because at first it's gonna be reasonable gear that'll be useful, and then eventually it'll fade away and be worthless, and I'll stop doing it.
See, that's the weird thing is that like I still don't really understand the conquest bar, and so whatever. That's me. I don't PvP much, so nevertheless,
I do
I'll
actually look forward to pushing rating a little bit because there is some stuff that's locked behind rating this season. I think if you can get
be
a
cool.
1,000 rating, you get like the rank 2 essence, and then after that, you need just like a certain number of points, and the higher your rating is, the more that drops in your weekly chest. So like if I can push 1750 again, like it'll be pretty good. But like 1,000's easy, and that way I can. Because my goal is to unlock the rank 3 of every essence. As crazy as that may sound. Um, I won't probably get the rank 4 because I think it requires you to get like Gladiator or
You
something.
are a collector. There's no doubt.
I just will like if they have the ability to affect my damage, I want all the options available to me.
Exactly. Me too. And I hope that they will turn out to be effective in doing that.
Hardest one
Instead,
I think is going to be Blood of the Enemy, getting like 50,000 honor. That's a lot of
I
honor.
need that. And I'm already. If you started it,
It's
you're
tied to the
already getting
achievement.
honor.
Yeah, it's tied to the
But you're
achievements, and
right.
it started with this patch. So even
Right.
if you don't have the rank 1, you're working towards rank 2 and 3.
Right, which is special. Cool. Well, I think that covers kind of our list. I'd say I give 8.2 so far a 8 fishes out of 10 in this first 2
Far
weeks.
more generous than me. So far, I'm having fun, but I'd say like if I have to rate where I'm at right now, I'd say it's a 6 or a 7. So it's good.
Yeah.
It hasn't blown my mind, but I have
Yeah.
very deep concerns with how interested I will be 3 weeks from
Longevity.
now
Yeah, me too.
because
Me
I
too.
feel like a lot of the stuff that is like
You've gone
interesting
flying, you'll be in the
stops
raid,
being
you get
interesting when it no
gear,
longer
you're
has a
already
tangible
done.
reward. Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Exactly.
kind of running like I'm running out of things to do, which is crazy to say, but like a lot of
Sure.
it's like a lot of the stuff I need for the achievements is literally just time gated behind like world quests. Like it's
Right.
not even anything I can grind, so I'm just waiting for the right things to proc.
Right. So we'll be just kind of getting back into
Which isn't
raiding,
bad. I mean,
doing
if
some
like all you got to
quests.
do is log in and just do your dailies and your worlds, like that's not a problem per se. It's just I don't know.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, the game's giving you a lot of gameplay if you're
Yeah.
looking at, but
And if you don't
nevertheless,
consume as much as humanly possible in the first week, then it
it stretches
certainly
out.
has a lot longer. So I've definitely done myself no favors in terms of
Mhm.
providing a long-term experience, but I'm hoping that I'm wrong about beguiling.
Right.
I'm hoping that this raid is really fun, and I'm hoping that PvP tuning ends up working to the point where I don't need to be hunting rares all the time to have stuff to do, where instead I'm wanting to run Mythic Pluses. I'm wanting to do rated like arenas. I'm wanting to do normal and heroic clears or some mythic like bosses and stuff like that. Like if the other content is good enough, then I feel like a lot of these systems that we're like questioning don't necessarily need to have a long lifespan because this is like the kickstart to get you into season 3, and then
Right.
from that point forward the rest of the systems should sustain you. But
Hope
I
so.
don't know because, like I said, beguiling looks shitty. PvP isn't particularly fun right now, and like islands, pet battles, stuff like that, I just don't care about. So like, this raid is gonna have to be one hell of a raid if those other systems don't end up living up to expectations. But I want to be wrong. I want to be
Right.
wrong.
We'll see. Only time will tell, literally, in this case. But we'll see how it all unfolds. Raid tomorrow. Streaming?
Definitely.
Me too. I'm gonna do it. So everyone can see how good I am at raid leading. Yeek!
Yeah, I'll probably be
All right.
streaming a good portion of the day
Well,
tomorrow. I'll stream Mechagon if I do it, all the stuff that's like comes if there's any new quests or anything that launch with 8.2, and then we'll be definitely streaming our progress into the raid and whatnot.
all right, let's see what did I catch. Looks like I caught a lot of garbage. I caught 153 mob stingers, 143 viper fish, 5 midnight salmons, and a bunch of grays.
I have 214 viperfish, 222 mob stingers, 7 midnight salmon, and then a bunch of grays.
Are you, are you better at fishing than me?
Maybe.
Guess so. Well,
I have
that's weird.
many lucky doos you
All
like.
right, well that's it for this week. We'll come back after we get through this raid, maybe in the next week or two, just with our thoughts on these fights. Could be interesting.